The campaign to lead Wisconsin's public schools pits two candidates with sharply different views against each other. It's tonight's Political Lowdown.
And when I finished the last board...
Republican State Representative Don Pridemore was a member of the legislature last session, and he defends the education cuts in Act 10.
We've had too many government programs, too many mandates, and every time we identify a problem, we seem to want to create another government program to solve a problem that another government program created in the first place.
I mean, if I hadn't...
Evers argues that the cuts hurt education, but he says the division the controversial law caused was worse.
They're kind of taking it to the next step and really demonizing teachers. I think that's had a negative impact across the state that's going to take a long time.
Governor Scott Walker's plan to expand the school choice program across the state is also a key issue in the campaign. Pridemore supports expansion, while Evers is against it.
The overall achievement level within the choice program in Milwaukee has been an experiment for almost 20 years, and it's no different than it is an MPS. And so to say that it's a best practice, I think, is a stretch.
I don't buy that argument either. You remember, again, we started out with the poorest of the poor in the choice program. I think there's a definite correlation between poverty levels and success rate.
Both candidates see low reading scores in the Milwaukee public schools as a huge problem. Evers says now all schools in the system teach reading the same way.
In the past, Milwaukee was relatively fragmented as they approached reading, and especially with the mobility of kids, a second grader could move 3 or 4 times a year to 2 buildings. And if they have a different reading program, they're going to fail eventually because they just can't catch up.
People who we think know what they're doing with great sounding titles after their name, but really our country performed very well our first 180 years of existence by just concentrating on the basics first and then applying those basics for higher learning.
The two men also differ over whether the position should be held by an educator or a politician. Evers says he brings experience as a teacher, principal, and administrator to the table, while Pridemore says his strengths lie in his problem-solving experience as an engineer at Johnson Controls, Badger Meter, and later in the state legislature. The election is on Tuesday.
Well, it certainly is the Wild West of buying and selling. Talking about the